everybody, and welcome to Friday Apocryphal Podcast, your one-stop shop for everything Friday Apocryphal and podcast. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today we are covering the Apocalypse of Elijah. The whole thing.
The entire thing.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be incredible. It's going to blow your little minds.
Hey, you can't just say that our viewers have little minds.
I mean, in comparison to, like, universe-sized objects.
Okay,
they're necessarily little.
That is true. But in comparison...
Roughly the same size as our minds. But, you know, I can neither confirm nor deny the existence of viewer minds.
But also, in comparison to atoms, you have large minds. You are big-brained.
Yes.
And that's why you watch this stream.
One guy. Thank you.
I will rescind that statement and change it to moderately sized minds. It will blow your moderately sized minds.
There we go. Class act.
Yes.
So today we are covering the Apocalypse of Elijah. It is pretty short, 5 chapters. So there's going to be mostly commentary in this episode. And
tell me about this piece of writing.
I will. It's a composite work.
Oh, great.
Actually. And it seems like each section, kind of, goes back and forth between, was this a Jewish writing or was this a Christian one? Was this like a Christian addition to a Jewish writing? There's not really that much to go off of because there isn't like a lot of manuscript evidence. There's some, obviously, but not that much. So yeah, it is like we can break down, the chapters in a few ways. So the first chapter, it's possibly an early Jewish work that was supplemented by a Christian editor. And you're going to see stuff like that a lot.
That sounds like Fourth Ezra.
Yeah, pretty much. So, he goes over a few things that happen in the first chapter, but there is it seems like there's a quotation from 1 John 2:15 in the second verse. So if that, once that pops up, we can probably pull that up. So that would be like the later edition, the later Christian edition. And it seems like it's a homily of some sort. The second chapter, however, is the most difficult portion of the text to analyze. That is due in part to the fact that the recently published Chester Beatty Papyrus has some 15 verses, or adds some 15 verses to the chapter, increasing its length by more than 1/4 and drastically changing the presumed scenario.
Oh.
Yeah.
Great.
So the difficulties involved in an attempt to understand this chapter are aggravated by the problem of identifying the genre involved. Because the thing is, it is an apocalypse in the more classical sense of it's a revelation, but it doesn't, it's not about like the end times or something like that. So the chapter attempts to provide a description of events preceding the advent of the Antichrist. At first impression, it appears to fit somewhere in the continuum of Jewish and Christian apocalyptic prophecies, which extend from Daniel to 6th Ezra. Oh boy, yeah, all those Ezras.
Do you like the Antichrist? Or do you hate the Antichrist?
I think the Antichrist is a superstar.
Wow.
Just like that one movie said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it what it said?
Well, I don't think I actually said it.
No, it didn't.
There was a guy that told me it was like his favorite movie and he constantly watches it, but it's also like his religion. And I'm like, okay.
What does that mean?
I don't know. He thinks like that's
Lawrence, have you ever considered converting to Matrixism?
Do you mean idealism?
No, Matrixism.
Right, but
it's a form of idealism.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But it specifically deals with the Matrix.
Gotcha. I could do that. I don't want to, but I could.
There's a lot of scientists out there who appear to be conforming to Matrixism lately. What with their simulation theory talk.
Is that what you're going to do next? Are you going to do that?
Well, I am the one.
So there are a lot of references in this text to books like Daniel, Revelation, as well. We're going to see those throughout. So the most difficult problem to be resolved in the study of the Apocalypse of Elijah is the historical significance of the various kings mentioned in the text. There are at least three possibilities. All of the kings are drawn from a literary tradition, and the author himself believes or speculates that at some future date, the first of these kings will appear. Or some of the kings had already appeared, but the author casts his work in the style of a seer who desires to warn his contemporaries of the imminent end of the age by joining their own history to that of the final age and casting it all in the form of future prophecy. And finally, the author has made use of a prior literary tradition or even a complete apocalypse from an earlier time, which he brought up to date by modifying details of the predicted future to conform more accurately to the actual course of history. We've seen all those.
Event too, for sure.
Yeah. We've seen all these things. So the introductory subtitle in 2:1 introduces the remainder of the tractate, which begins with the discussion of an Assyrian king and ends with a destruction of heaven and earth and the creation of new ones. And that's classic Christian stuff there.
Yeah.
If the
Very common.
Absolutely. If the subtitle had been correctly identified, its presence would suggest that the present work was created when an editor or writer joined the opening homily on fasting and prayer to an independent document that is described by this subtitle. And it's important to remember for this, it is called the Apocalypse of Elijah, but it's not really about Elijah. Elijah is mentioned like twice. It's not a revelation to Elijah. It's just that in the text, it does kind of talk about Elijah, often paired with Enoch, by the way.
Well, they're kind of similar.
What?
They're kind of similar.
Yeah. So it's the current title that we have for it is based on that. We do have references to this text in some like early church fathers, for example, but it's for some of it, we can clearly tell they're quoting from this. Other times it's not so clear, and they're just talking about, an apocalypse of Elijah. But because we're so unsure about the history of the text and what an original title would have been, because like if we do consider the fact that there are these later editions, would there have been a different title? Was this circulating as part of a different work? We just don't know. We don't have the evidence for
it was paired with the Zephaniah one.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, that which we read about when we read the Apocalypse of Zephaniah.
Right. Which didn't answer any like Zephaniah and the Apocalypse of Zephaniah.
Very different books.
They didn't like actually help each other at all.
Yes, no relationship whatsoever.
Yeah, either way. So there's the whole issue of figuring out the kings. Now, there's not really that much to say on chapter 3, honestly. But on to chapter 4, we have like some martyrdom tales, which, of course, are always so great.
Wonderful.
They're not.
Do you remember in 2nd Maccabees?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it was 2nd Maccabees 7 that you had the woman and her 7 sons, right?
Yep.
I actually had to cite that in my paper.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I was like I was reading one paper for the paper I was writing, and they were talking about that part of 2nd Maccabees. And I was like, hey, I have plenty of commentaries on that. So then I would cite it in my paper.
Incredible.
All right. So, we have in chapter 4, we have the martyrdom of Tabitha, which we will get to, who Tabitha is.
It sounds like a woman's name.
It is a woman's name.
Wow, we have a female martyr. It's been a while.
Yeah.
And we also have, of course, the martyrdom of Elijah and Enoch. We have, so it's immediately followed by the persecution of the righteous, classic. But then the martyrdom of 60 righteous men.
Oh.
Yeah. And they all share similarities, but even textually speaking, they share many similarities. But the 60 martyrs definitely seem to share the least similarities with the other two. But the Elijah Enoch martyrdom, written in Christian circles, is strongly influenced by the martyrdom of the two witnesses in Revelation 11, 1 through 12. And I think once we get to chapter 4, we can pull that up.
Yeah.
Most interpreters of Revelation identify the two witnesses described there as Elijah and Moses. But from the time of Hippolytus onward, a number of church fathers reinterpreted the passage in Revelation to apply to Enoch and Elijah, the two men who had never died. Since Elijah was taken to heaven in a fiery chariot, it was generally assumed that he never died. Fair enough, but I mean, in a way, that's kind of death, but not really, I guess.
If you reference other pseudepigrapha, then there's
into space.
Well, then there's more people who never died.
That's true. That is very true. The Martyrdom of Tabitha was also composed by a Christian author. The name, which means gazelle, is that of a woman from Joppa, who was also known as Dorcas. In Acts 9:36 through 41, a story is told of the manner in which Peter raised her from the dead. Lacking any report of her subsequent death, it must have been assumed that she was still alive and would survive in order to serve as a witness in the last days. That is a hell of a stretch, church fathers. That is a hell of a stretch. Her speeches are quite similar to those of Enoch and Elijah, and like them, she is resurrected to deliver a concluding rebuke to the shameless one. So
I didn't know you were in this book.
You know what? Me neither. I'm famous.
Yep.
They wrote about me this long ago.
Yeah, everybody's in these parts of the book. So we've got a Reuben. Now there's a Lawrence character. This is great.
Yep. The shameless one.
That's me. So the main texts for this are in Achaemenid and Sahidic, which were the two main texts for the Apocalypse of Zephaniah as well,
yes.
Which makes sense since they were often found together.
And the Sahidic text for the Apocalypse of Zephaniah was the most complete.
Yeah.
Is that the same here?
So this one, it kind of seems like it's 50-50, at least from what I could tell from the reading before. I mentioned some of the church fathers referencing it, how it was circulated with the Apocalypse of Zephaniah. So portions of the text of the Apocalypse of Elijah have survived in both the Sahidic and Achaemenid dialects of Coptic as well as in Greek. It is generally assumed that the Apocalypse was translated from Greek, and there is no reason to deny that assumption, especially in light of the existence of a fragment of Greek text that has survived. When Steindorf published his edition, he offered convincing evidence that the Sahidic version was translated from Achaemenid. The evidence was primarily in the form of unusual Achaemenid features that appeared in the Sahidic text, which he edited. It seemed reasonable to assume that a translator of the Sahidic text found some puzzling constructions in the text from which he worked. Being unable to translate them or careless about translating every expression, he allowed them to enter the Sahidic text, which happens a lot. We get like Hebraisms in Greek. We have Aramaisms in Hebrew, stuff like that, where you can't like fully take it over.
There's something with Egypt too, I remember at one point.
I'm sure, yeah. You can't fully take it over to this other language, but you can just do your best.
Yep. There's no such thing as a perfect translation.
That's 100% true. There is no such thing as a perfect translation.
Actually, it's nearly 100% true. There is one perfect translation, and it is the King James Version of the Bible.
Wow. That's incredible.
Wow.
You should start a movement.
Yeah.
So for the date, since there are Coptic manuscripts of the present text dated to the early 4th century at the latest, the original Greek text can scarcely be later than the end of the 3rd century. On the other hand, the text in its present form is obviously post-Christian. So you have the dependence on Revelation and on 1 John as well. So you kind of need to fit it in between the 1st century or even the early 2nd century and the 4th century, somewhere in there, and it's kind of hard to tell where it falls exactly. But most scholars who have studied the Apocalypse of Elijah have concluded that it is a composite work containing both Jewish and Christian materials. The task of sorting out the various passages to be assigned to each group is still being pursued. Once that has reached a state of general consensus, it will be possible to examine the Jewish data separately and propose a state for its composition. That task should be carried out with a close examination of related Jewish works, such as the Hebrew Apocalypse of Elijah.
The Hebrew Apocalypse of Elijah? What's that?
I don't know. But I guess it's just a different version of it, as my guess. In order to determine more.
It could be a completely different book, like the Slavonic Enoch.
Exactly. Or the Slavonic Enoch, and also Maccabees.
Yeah.
Like the Ethiopian Maccabees books are
totally different.
Completely different.
Not even on the same realms.
No. So in order to determine more precisely the nature of a possible common ancestor. Until that is done, any statement about a date for the earlier Jewish material in this tractate remains too conjectural. Nevertheless, the Jewish stratum seems to predate the destruction of the Jewish quarter in Alexandria in 117. So those are the main things that I had to cover. Basically, kind of, I guess it was a decently sized introduction, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't even say this at the beginning. The book that we're using.
Yeah, we have the Old Testament Pseudepigrapha by James H. Charlesworth, and this specific translation
is by O.S. Wintermute.
Okay, O.S. Wintermute.
Wintermute again. Very good.
Well, yeah, that was the...
You see, I don't use Windows. I use Wintermute OS.
That's a very good OS, yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if we're getting another... I don't think we're getting another volcano story.
Oh. Okay. Let's hop into this. Now I have this much of the page is the text, and this much of the page is commentary. So,
yeah, it's quite a bit of commentary.
Yes. The Apocalypse of Elijah. Chapter 1. The Call of the Prophet. The word of the Lord came to me, saying, now there's already 2 footnotes. All right. So one of the manuscripts says saying to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a footnote. Now, for the opening phrase, compare Ezekiel 33, 1 through 2, 6, 1, 12, 1, 13, 1, and 14, 2.
I mean, I'm guessing this is just it being like a regular prophet call.
Yes. G. Steindorf in The Apocalypse des Elias, page 67, called attention to a very close parallel in the Apocalypse of Paul, which was mentioned a few times in the Apocalypse of Zephaniah, too, which reads, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, say to this people, how long will you sin and add to the sin and anger the God who created you? The last part of this quotation is parallel to the Septuagint version of Isaiah 31, which reads, to add sins to sins. The opening portion of this text has been... Yes. The opening portion of this text has been preserved in the Sahidic text, written at the end of BMMS 7594. The best edition of that Sahidic text was provided by C. Schmidt in Der Kolophon des Manuskript Orient 7594 des Britischen Museums eine Untersuchung zur Elias Apocalypse.
So if you want to search for that, you can.
Yes. The Sahidic text differs from the Ahmimic slightly and is somewhat closer to the Apocalypse of Paul. It reads, the word of the Lord came to me, saying to me, say to this people, why do you sin and add, why do you add sin to your sin and anger the Lord who created you? In agreement with the Apocalypse of Paul, the text of BMMS 7594 does not include the phrase Son of Man, but does include the phrase why do you sin?
Yes, Son of Man is also
You're a
God. But we're going to see the phrase a lot, just as we saw in Was it in Ezekiel that phrase was used a lot? Or am I thinking of a different prophet?
I think it was used in Ezekiel. I know it's been used in multiple different areas.
Yeah, like before the whole Jesus thing, or he was just calling him human, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
A guy.
Yeah, they refer
Ezekiel?
to Ezekiel over and over again as
Yeah,
Son of Man.
never by name, at least from God himself.
Yeah.
He always calls him Son of Man.
Yeah. But a similar Sahidic text is provided by the New Chester Beatty Papyrus.
Which we did cover.
And that's enough about the first 7 words. Son of man, say to this people, why do you add sin to your sins and anger the Lord God who created you? Don't love the world or the things which are in the world, for the boasting of the world and its destruction belong to the devil.
Oh, okay. I mean, that makes sense. Because, it was... especially with... No, never mind. I think of a different book.
Yeah, well, an important motif from several Gnostic texts from Nag Hammadi is the boasting of the chief ruler of the world. The biblical background for the boasting of a demonic power may be traced to Daniel 11:36-39, 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4, the Ascension of Isaiah 4:2. J.M. Rosenthal, Rosenstiel, called
Rosenstiel, yeah.
Horrible, but yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great band name.
Yeah. Called attention to a large number of parallel passages in the Pseudepigrapha, as well as in other Jewish and Christian writings that share this writer's negative view of the present world and its domination by Satan. We're in another subsection now. Deliverance from captivity is through the incarnate Son.
Good old incarnate Son. Here we go.
Yeah. Remember that the Lord of glory, who created everything, had mercy upon you so that he might save us from the captivity of this age. For many times the devil desired not to let the sun rise above the earth and not to let the earth yield fruit, since he desires to consume men like a fire, which rages in stubble, and he desires to swallow them like water. Therefore, on account of this, the God of glory had mercy upon us, and he sent his Son to the world so that he might save us from the captivity. He did not inform an angel or an archangel or any principality when he was about to come to us, but he changed himself to be like a man when he was about to come to us so that he might save us from flesh. Therefore, become sons to him, since he is a father to you. What do you have to say about that theology?
I mean, it seems like it's in the same vein as, I mean, I know it's a very kind of a basic Christological outlook.
Mm-hmm. So there's some commentary here. Rosenstiel calls attention to 5:18, where the writer claims that it's because of the saints that the sun shines above the earth. He also calls attention to a number of texts dealing with the deceits and plots of the devil. The present text contains a number of features that suggest an Egyptian origin. At this point, one is reminded of the Apophis myth. Apophis was a serpent of the underworld who continually sought to hinder the sun god on his daily journey.
And on the journey, you basically had, like, if you died, you had to kill Apophis in order to get to the next life.
Mm-hmm. For the Christian editor of this text, the devil, who is incarnate as the Antichrist, may be conceived of as a serpent, as in 5:33, where the Antichrist is said to perish like a serpent, which has no breath in it.
Yeah, so no life in it. when you're talking about perishing, it would make sense that there's no life in it. And yeah, of course, this would be the interpretation in Christian times, but this would not be like the original idea. Although I was reading something about potentially being like the authors, I guess, of this text, or the compilers of this text, if you want to put it that way, being like a break off of the Johannine community, which would make sense with the quotation. However, the Johannine community viewed the Antichrist as not, it wasn't just one Antichrist. There were multiple Antichrists, and Antichrist was just a reference to a docetic group that would have broken off of the Johannine community. There's textual evidence for that in the Bible. So, like, there are plenty of things hinting at a docetic sect like that. So when talking about the Antichrist being the devil, it's in a different vein, but it's like from the same root, I would think.
All right. Now, on this desire of the devil to consume men like fire and swallow them like water, one tradition that developed in the Old Testament was the view that the world, which had once been destroyed by a flood, was threatened with a future destruction by fire. See Zephaniah 1:2-3, which recalls the flood imagery of Genesis 7:4 and 23, and Zephaniah 1:18. The fire imagery is a figure rooted in the practice of cherem, which involved burning all the booty after a holy war. When the wicked are finally destroyed in a cosmic holy war, all things will be consumed by fire. See Joel 2:30, 2 Peter 3:10. In the present text, however, it's the devil who is held responsible for the desire to consume men like fire and like water.
Well, I mean, in comparison to biblical texts, it would be God doing that, not the devil or Satan or whatever name you want to put on that character.
Well, Rosenstiel sees the devil as the executive of God's wrath against Sodom through fire and against the sinners of Noah's time through water.
Yeah, he would be serving as, like the judge, but either way, this would not be like this wouldn't be Satan's will. This was still the will of God. And biblically speaking, it would, like, that's his plan. That's God's plan.
Yeah, but here it's the devil's desire.
Yeah.
We're in a new subsection. What is prepared for both the sealed and the sinners? Remember that he has prepared thrones and crowns for you in heaven, saying, everyone who will obey me will receive thrones and crowns among those who are mine. The Lord said, I will write my name upon their forehead, and I will seal their right hand, and they will not hunger or thirst. Neither will the Son of Lawlessness prevail over me, nor will the thrones hinder them, but they will walk with the angels up to my city. Now as for the sinners, they will be shamed, and they will not pass by the thrones, but the thrones of death will seize them and rule over them, because the angels will not agree with them. They have alienated themselves from his dwellings.
A good chunk of that definitely sounds like it's from Revelation.
I'm looking here.
Like, not like directly quoted or anything, but some of the imagery definitely. But I guess that's why they would. That's why they're calling it an apocalyptic text in general.
Thrones are members of the angelic host.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so the thing is, this popped up later more than like super early on, but there was there was an evolution to it. But remember, like if someone like died, there was like a way that they would become an angel. Like we've read this in apocryphal works specifically.
Yeah.
About how this idea of the human turning into an angel.
Like how Enoch turns into
like
an
that,
angel.
Yeah.
Now, they will not hunger or thirst, neither will the Son of Lawlessness prevail over them, nor will thrones hinder them, but they will walk. Okay. The Son of Lawlessness.
Like, is that supposed to be?
It's most frequently a title used in the text to designate the Antichrist.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Because you have the Son of Lawlessness, you have the Son of Righteousness, and there's the Teacher of Righteousness in the Dead Sea Scrolls. There, and yeah, you have Son of Man, which I would assume would be the antithesis to that. So,
yeah, the same Greek term. Okay, the Coptic reflects a Greek huios anomias. That Greek term is found in Psalm 89:22, in a context that speaks of David and his messianic heirs, assuring him that the Son of Lawlessness will not harm him again. So that's in Psalms. We're in a new subsection, the deceivers who oppose the fast. Hear, O wise men of the land, concerning the deceivers who will multiply in the last times, so that they will set down for themselves doctrines which do not belong to God, setting aside the law of God, those who have made their belly their God, saying, the fast does not exist, nor did God create it, making themselves strangers to the covenant of God, and robbing themselves of the glorious promises.
the fast doesn't exist.
Fasting's not real.
Are they supposed to be saying that it's like we shouldn't follow this ritual?
Rosenthal has noted that the discussion of fasting may be explained in a Jewish context. The most important single cultic fast in the Old Testament is related to the Day of Atonement. The expression for fasting in the passages in Leviticus 16:29 through 31 and 23:27 through 32 and Numbers 29:7 is to afflict oneself. Philo says that the purpose of the fast that occurs on the Day of Atonement is to control the tongue, the belly, and the organs below the belly, a view of fasting similar to that of the present text. There are a number of passages that deal with the fasting of individuals as a work of piety.
Yeah, so for these guys specifically, they would be uncontrollable, and they're not pious, obviously, but
yeah, the practice was enthusiastically supported by the Pharisees and other Jewish texts, including followers of John the Baptist. The fact that Jesus' early disciples were accused of not fasting suggests that during the life of Jesus, the freedom to fast or not to fast was still a debatable issue.
Weird.
Now, these are not ever correctly established in the firm faith. Therefore, don't let those people lead you astray. Now we're in another subsection. The benefits of the fast.
let's learn about them.
Yes. Remember that from the time when he created the heavens, the Lord created the fast for a benefit to men on account of the passions and desires which fight against you, so that the evil will not inflame you.
So are they, I mean, maybe it's just, maybe they're just saying like at the beginning or really early on, but if they're saying that that the fast was created when the heavens were created, then I think that would mean that, because we had this before, right, where the angels have been doing things in heaven before people were, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was in Jubilees. Like the angels got circumcised, so that's why the people had to get circumcised, and the angels were doing these rituals, which is why the people had to do rituals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So unless it's just like an issue with the translation itself or with translating,
The same reading is confirmed by multiple manuscripts.
Okay, so unless it's an issue with translation, then yeah, I guess angels had to do it.
I guess so.
But like I said, if it's like a poor translation of it, then like if it's not portraying that same idea, or maybe it's just vague or something, then it could just mean like early on. Not necessarily at the very beginning.
All right. But it is a pure fast, which I have created, says the Lord. The one who fasts continually will not sin, although jealousy and strife are within him. Let the pure one fast, but whenever the one who fasts is not pure, he has...
You all right there?
Yeah. He has angered the Lord and also the angels, and he has grieved his soul, gathering up wrath for himself for the day of wrath. Instead of pure fast, one could read clean or holy fast.
It works to the same effect.
Yeah. I guess the idea is similar to that psalm where they talk about the fool who says in his heart that there is no God, but continues to do the cultic activities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we're in a short poetry section in this subsection. But a pure fast is what I created, with a pure heart and pure hands. It releases sin. It heals diseases. It casts out demons. It is effective up to the throne of God for an ointment and for a release from sin by means of a pure prayer.
So I'm not sure about how great it would be with God and all that. Let's assume it's great for God. They're also claiming that it has a medicinal use.
Yeah. It has a medicinal use. It gets rid of sins. It casts out demons.
And snake oil miracle stuff.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Well, although the phrase "and fasting" is generally considered to be an addition to Jesus' discussion of casting out demons in Mark 9:29, it reflects an ancient view of the importance of fasting for an exorcist.
That's a really interesting thing for an exorcist to employ, like specifically.
Yeah, so I know with like ritual magics that you'll look at now, right? There's a whole purification process where there in many occult manuscripts where there's fasting and continual prayer and only wearing certain garments and so on and so forth throughout. And that might be a carryover from that tradition.
That would make sense.
All right, we're in a new subsection. The need for single-mindedness. Who among you, if he is honored in his craft, will go forth to the field without a tool in his hand? Or who will go forth to a battle to fight without a breastplate on? If he is found, he will not be killed because he despised the service of the king. Okay, if he is found, will he not be killed because he despised the service of the king? Likewise, no one is able to enter the holy place if he is double-minded. The one who is double-minded in his prayer is darkness to himself, and even the angels do not trust him. Therefore, be single-minded in the Lord at all times, so that you know every moment.
So you can't, if you're praying or something, you need to put the whole of your being into that prayer.
Mm-hmm. And you can't be double-minded.
No, you can't be thinking about one thing. Like if you're praying, don't be thinking about what you're gonna, I don't know, eat today. No, you gotta pray because of the love of God. And if you are at any point during that prayer wondering what you want to eat today, God's gonna be like, "Are you cheating on me?"
Mm-hmm.
And then He's gonna get mad about it.
Yeah,
possessive God.
Kind of controlling.
Well, the point of single-mindedness is to keep the mind from clouding up in a darkening manner, so that one will be able to perceive everything or perceive at every moment.
Well, it was described as specifically perceiving everything in terms of God, right? Like at the very end of what you read.
Therefore, be single-minded in the Lord at all times, so that you might know every moment.
Yeah, in the Lord.
I guess.
Yeah.
It doesn't state that specifically.
You just read it off. That's in the Lord.
Be single-minded in the Lord
Yeah.
at all times, so that you might know every moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that your knowledge that you get as a reward, as a consequence, really, of being single-minded in the Lord, is of the Lord, right? It like if I were to say, be single-minded in focusing on your goals, and you will become an expert professional wrestler.
Okay.
Right? That's like maybe a consequence of being single-minded in your goals. Maybe. But it is technically a separate statement.
Yeah, but
right?
the Lord isn't like a goal. So the way that I'm reading that is
Okay, well, like, be single-minded in the book that you are reading, and you will graduate from college. College isn't a book.
it's true. It's not a book. May as
It's
well
like
be
you pass
sometimes.
God's
but-
tests. There
Yeah.
you go.
Okay.
Anyways, that's the end of chapter 1. I need to drink something.
You probably do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, on to chapter 2 here. So here's the subtitle for the remainder of the text. So that's including this chapter and all the others. Furthermore, concerning the kings of Assyria and the dissolution of the heaven and the earth and the things beneath the earth. So already quite a lot to talk about. We're just completely changing tones here to the kings of Assyria. Okay, so these are mostly just textual notes, honestly. So yeah, let's talk about some of these. Let's talk about these Assyrians, shall we? Well, first we're going to talk about the Assyrian king of injustice. Yeah, so make sure you're prepared for that one, Chris.
Yep.
Now therefore, those who are mine will not be overcome, says the Lord, nor will they fear in the battle. When they see a king who rises in the north, who will be called the king of Assyria and the king of injustice.
Of course, from the north.
They always have to be from the north.
They're always from the north.
Yeah, and the king of injustice, he will increase his battles and his disturbances against Egypt. The land will groan together because your children will be seized. Many will desire death in those days, but death will flee from them.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was that's from the Bible at a certain point, isn't it?
So there's a direct reference here, it seems, or a cross-reference, I should say, to Revelation 9:6. But furthermore, about death fleeing from you. I do recall that.
Yeah.
So let's see if there's a note on that. Yeah, it looks like. No. Yeah, I guess it's a parallel with 9:6, but I do remember that I think it popped up in either one of the Psalms or maybe a prophet. Because I do remember that being a thing. Maybe it was an apocryphal work.
Revelation 9:4.
9:6.
9:6, rather. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them.
Yeah, I remember. Wasn't it like in Isaiah or something? I don't remember. All right.
I don't recall.
But I have seen that phrase before, and I think it was in the Old Testament. All right, continuing on here. This is the Western king of peace. So we have the Northern king of injustice, Assyria, and now we have a Western king of peace.
It's like Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Or rather, no, not Alice in Wonderland. The Wizard of Oz, where you have the good witch and the bad witch.
Was there a good witch?
Yeah,
I remember the bad witch.
The good witch. The
good
one lady who gave her the slippers.
Yeah, gave her the slippers.
I
told her to go see The Wizard of Oz.
I thought she just went to go see The Wizard of Oz.
Came in a bubble.
When you were a kid, did you see The Wizard of Oz in Russian?
No.
Okay.
Did you see the Russian Wizard of Oz? Man, is it different.
It might be. I don't know. I haven't seen the Russian Wizard of Oz.
Same thing even. It's its own thing.
It's like those Russian cartoons where it's like really poorly animated and like they just yell at each other.
That happens a lot, yeah. So it might be like that. There's a good chance.
It's all of Russia, that.
And a king who will be called the King of Peace will rise up in the west. He will run upon the sea like a roaring lion, because lions run upon the sea, yes. He will kill the king of injustice, and he will take vengeance on Egypt with battles and much bloodshed.
Taking vengeance on Egypt?
Yeah, so the...
Haven't they done enough to Egypt?
Hey, Egypt was...
Leave Egypt alone.
Egypt was bad for a while.
Yeah, but like they were also very helpful at other points. Like you remember when Nebuchadnezzar was doing his thing, and people were like, "Oh man, we need Egypt's help. Egypt should help us out. They're like a military power. They can do something, right?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So like
they did seek Egypt's help, and that was seen as a bad thing.
Yeah, and in Jeremiah they even go to Egypt.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
Didn't they get horses in like one of the stories too from Egypt, or they wanted?
Yeah, that was in Isaiah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
backhanded relationship.
I mean, yeah. All right. So Rosenstiel has called attention to the messianic attributes of the King of the West. He's a king of peace. He has walks on water, and he has a question mark next to that. He's like, I guess. Described like a lion. We have the whole thing in Genesis 49:9. He also noted the striking parallel with the description given in the Tiburtine Sibyl, and that's a later Sibylline. Well, it's not a Sibylline oracle. It's a Sibylline part of a Sibylline book, which is different than the oracles.
Well, I think that the lion running on the water, right? That does sound like a reference to Jesus, right? It is a lion which is symbolic of the house of David.
Right. And that's the whole thing that the Ethiopian king used. Or the Ethiopian emperor used.
Oh.
Is it an emperor? Do they have a king? I forget.
I don't know. It was king. There was King Tsar Yaakov.
No, I mean even now.
Oh, I haven't been to Ethiopia. I haven't studied Ethiopian
do they have a president?
politics.
I don't know what the what that is in Ethiopia, but whoever the ruler is, very recently, at least, I forget his name. He had a lot to do with the revitalization of the Ethiopian canon. I guess he published his own version, or just published a version under his rule, right? And I think he referred to himself as a lion, referencing biblical texts.
Well, there you go.
Anyways, he will kill the king of injustice, and he will take vengeance on Egypt with battles and much bloodshed. If this is, I don't know if this is I guess it could be a Jesus thing, but the much bloodshed part, I don't know if people like to think about that one.
Well, you've been studying the Crusades.
Yeah, it's bad. This is way before the Crusades, but it was not great.
Ethiopia is a federal republic, and therefore they're ruled by a prime minister. But they have a president.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They don't ask. I'm trying to figure it out. I don't get it.
Well, thank you for
Wikipedia.
Thank you for looking that up. All right.
Maybe their prime minister and president are different branches of government.
Maybe. I have no clue.
Chief of state is what they call the president, but head of government is what they call the prime minister.
Oh my
Hope
God.
that helps.
It will come to pass in those days that he will command a peace and a vain gift in Egypt. He will give peace to those who are holy, saying, the name of God is one. He will give honors to the saints.
And the name of God is one that's very similar to many Hebrew prayers, right?
Yeah.
So it would be that person performing Hebrew prayers, basically.
Yeah, so we have Deuteronomy 6:4 about God being one. So that's something we can cross-reference, I guess. So Mark's first convert in Alexandria was a cobbler whom the evangelist heard shouting, God is one. It is reported that Mark was surprised that the cobbler knew God's name. The story illustrates the fact that this formula had wide currency within both the Jewish and Christian communities and elsewhere in the Hellenistic world. That is interesting. He will give honors to the saints and then exalting to the places of the saints. He will give vain gifts to the house of God. He will wander around in the cities of Egypt with guile, without their knowing. He will take count of the holy places. He will weigh the idols of the heathen. He will take count of their wealth. He will establish priests for them. He will command that the wise men and the great ones of the people be seized, and they will be brought to the metropolis which is by the sea, saying, there is but one language. But when you hear peace and joy exist, I will... there's a textual break.
Oh, great.
Yep. The translation of the Chester Beatty Papyrus inserted at this point is based... Oh, okay. So here it looks like there's... I don't know if this will continue, but it looks like there's an insertion here. So it might continue on later, but it doesn't actually look like it. I'm going to read this note here. So the translation of the Chester Beatty Papyrus inserted at this point is based on the text provided by Pietersma, Comstock, and Atridge. They were kind enough to allow me to use the text that will appear under their names. Okay, so he's just citing where he's getting this upcoming thing from. So yeah, there is but one language. So that's the quotation.
Okay.
Yeah, and they will be brought to the metropolis, which is by the sea, saying, there is but one language. But when you hear peace and joy exist, I will something textual break. So that's unfortunate. But it's interesting that he's saying there is but one language. Just
right.
one important language, I guess, maybe.
The language of God.
Yeah, the language of God.
I guess. Even though, people got punished for that before. Tower of Babel.
Yeah, exactly. So the evil son. Oh, this is interesting. The evil son on the right. That's the next section. I'm guessing this
son
is
as in child or son as in celestial body?
Child. Son as in child.
Okay.
And is this about 1260 AD? No. This is this work, at least, is from it falls anywhere in between, I would think, the early 2nd century to the 4th century
AD.
Yeah, it's somewhere in there. It's hard to say where exactly.
So circa 300.
Yeah, you could say circa 300. Now I will tell you his signs so that you may know him. For he has 2 sons, one on his right and one on his left. The one on his right will receive a demonic face, and he will fight against the name of God. Now 4 kings will descend from that king, so it's going to be a king. In his 30th year, he will come up to Memphis. That's a very famous city in Egypt. And he will build a temple in Memphis. On that day, his own son will rise up against him and kill him. The whole land will be disturbed. Who is that in reference to?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a demon-faced king.
Yeah, an Egyptian king, apparently, who is killed by his son.
You know more about Egyptian history than I do.
Yeah, I don't remember this, though. Wow, that's a shame.
Yeah, it is.
No, maybe it's not even referring to somebody specific. Or maybe it's supposed to be like one of those texts where Egypt is used as a name for something else.
It could be. It could also be a reference. I mean, Alexander would have been around.
Yeah, he would have been around before, yeah.
He didn't get killed by his son, even though he was Pharaoh of Egypt, right?
No.
His second in command, or one of his underlings, became Pharaoh of Egypt, right?
So I mean, Alexander died, and then I remember that all of his successors were all like, "Hey, let's split up the land," but then they were like fighting over it. And I don't know.
I know it was it Ptolemy became Pharaoh of Egypt?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure that Alexander was Pharaoh of Egypt at one point.
I don't know if he took up the title Pharaoh. But anyways, on that day, the whole land will be disturbed. Sadly, there's no commentary on that. So on that day, he will issue an order over the whole land so that the priests of the land and all the saints will be seized, saying, "You will repay doubly every gift and all the good things which my father gave to you."
Alexander did become Pharaoh of Egypt.
Oh, was it Pharaoh? Okay.
He was declared a descendant of Amun.
Oh, okay.
And
classic. You will repay doubly every gift and all the good things which my father gave to you. He will shut up all the holy places. He will take their houses. He will take their sons prisoner. He will order and sacrifice and abominations. Wait, hold on. He will order and sacrifices and abominations and bitter evils will be done in the land. He will appear before the sun and the moon. Now, obviously the sun and the moon.
Yes.
On that day, the priests of the land will tear their clothes. So obviously that's a bad thing because they're tearing their clothes.
Which is a sign of mourning.
It is, yeah.
It's terrible.
Obviously they thought that. So this is in chapter 2. So I'm gonna see if I probably missed something, right? In the commentary.
You might have.
Yeah, I certainly did. So this is of course supposed to be about the Antichrist, right? So the first description of coming events, which begins at 2:2 and ends in 2:28, contains a series of references to kings who cannot be identified at this time.
Ramses III was the son of Setnakte and Queen Taimerenese. He was assassinated in the harem conspiracy led by his second wife, Taya, and her eldest son, Pentawere.
This part...
That's what I get when I search for a pharaoh who was killed by his son.
I feel like that's...
that is...
very, very far back in time.
That's
and
the only reference that I get, which occurred in 1155 BC.
Yeah, so I doubt it's about that.
Yeah.
All right, so... because it says here that the kings cannot be identified. It clearly begins with an Assyrian king who is wicked. He is replaced by a pious king from the west. The New Chester Beatty Papyrus introduces an evil demon-faced son who seems to be responsible for the evil events described in the following verses. Apparently that identification is still unknown.
So it's probably the case that they're not referring to actually Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
This is the figurative Egypt, the symbolic Egypt.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, let's continue on here. Now, here's a lament for Egypt in those days. Woe to you!
Aw.
Whoa.
O rulers of Egypt, in those days, because your day has passed. The violence being done to the poor will turn against you, and your children will be seized as plunder. In those days, the cities of Egypt will groan for the voice of the one who sells, and the one who buys will not be heard. The markets of the cities of Egypt will become dusty. Those who are in Egypt will weep together. They will desire death, but death will flee and leave them. Classic.
Yes.
Classic. Brilliant writing.
Typical formation.
In those days, they will run up to the rocks and leap off, saying, "Fall upon us," and still they will not die. A double affliction will multiply upon the whole land. You know, shit, I should have referenced this in my paper.
You should have.
There's this whole thing about like during the Crusades, the Jews used in their writings of them dying twice or a second death. And it always seems to be something like this, where you have like this initial action that is meant to kill you but doesn't. That's the first death. But then there's the actual death where you really die. But here it's kind of close where it says like a double affliction will multiply upon the whole land. Like it's connected to the previous one, but yeah, not I guess not in the same way as they are in Crusade texts.
So some philosophers, I think it was Irvin Yalom, talk about a second death being the last time anyone would ever think about you after your death.
Yeah. I mean, I reference that a lot. I didn't know that was from that philosopher, but I say that a lot, where it's like the last time someone says your name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I reference that a lot. But I mean, I don't think that's...
Well, it reminds me of how with certain groups in the Bible, they would erase them from history. You know what I mean? They went out of their way to destroy everything that referenced them at all. So,
dang.
Yeah, and it yeah, so they're just hoping for death here. In those days, the king will command, and all the nursing women will be seized and brought to him bound. They will suckle serpents.
oh,
Their blood will be drawn from their breasts, and it will be applied as poison to the arrows. What? So, okay. So they're going to take women who are
producing milk.
Yeah. And
they're going to have serpents drinking the milk from their tits.
Yep.
And
No. It says that they will suckle serpents.
Oh.
So the women
are going to suck the serpents.
Yes. And that will...
It'll make their breast milk poisonous.
No, their breast blood, because their blood will be drawn from their breasts.
This is just super backwards.
This is bad women's anatomy.
Yeah, this is not anatomically correct at all.
But apparently,
this is a very advanced poison preparation scheme.
Something that I'm sure does not work.
I guess if you really want to make a poison, you gotta get a woman to suck a serpent and then get the blood out of her tits. That's what you gotta do.
So stupid.
And apply it to arrows.
Yeah.
Yes.
On account of the distress of the cities, he will command again, and all the young lads, oh my God, this is not going to be good. And all the young lads from 12 years and under will be seized and presented in order to teach them to shoot arrows. Okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought it'd be.
It's so much better than we thought. From
this is just preparing them for murder. Okay.
Yeah, that's normal. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's not, but it's more mundane.
Considering what we just read.
Yeah, whatever we read last was much
of course.
less
They
mundane.
also don't go to the able-bodied adult men and teach them how to wield weapons of war. They just take the children 12 years and younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a child army. They're doing that whole strat.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. The midwife who is upon the earth will grieve. The woman who has given birth will lift her eyes to heaven, saying, "Why did I sit upon the birth stool to bring forth a son to this earth?" The barren woman and the virgin will rejoice, saying, "It is our time to rejoice, because we have no child upon the earth, but our children are in heaven." Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Looking for any kind of commentary on that, but I suppose it's...
I don't imagine there would be very substantial commentary about that.
Nope, there is not. All right, but yeah, I guess the entire point of the section so far has been like, it'd be better to just die.
Yeah.
Which we've seen before, and I also believe it'd be better for me. Yeah, it'd be better for me to just die. So this next section... Actually, okay, so... These next few sections, I should say, are broken up into very, very tiny sections.
Yes.
Like they're a sentence each. So let's see. The return of the Jews to Jerusalem. In those days, 3 kings will arise among the Persians, and they will take captive the Jews who are in Egypt. They will bring them to Jerusalem, and they will inhabit it and dwell there. And, thank you for the no commentary on that. Then, when you hear that there is security in Jerusalem, tear your garments, O priests of the land, because the son of perdition will soon come.
Yeah. So when things start going good, then you know things are going to be bad.
As is tradition. In those days, the lawless one will appear in the holy places. That's all you're going to get for that, by the way. In those days, the kings of the Persians will hasten, and they will stand to fight with the kings of Assyria. 4 kings will fight with 3. They will spend 3 years in that place until they carry off the wealth of the temple which is in that place. In those days, blood will flow from Kos to Memphis. So Steindorf identified this within Arabic city, with the Arabic city of Kus, or Kush, is it supposed to be? I'm not sure. The ancient Apollinopolis Parva is located a few kilometers south of Coptus on the eastern bank of the Nile. Anyways, going from there to Memphis. The river of Egypt will become blood, and they will not be able to drink from it for 3 days. Woe to Egypt and those who are in it. In those days a king will arise in the city, which is called the City of the Sun. That's Heliopolis. And the whole land will be disturbed. He will flee to Memphis with the Persians. And now here's the Persian Triumph. In the 6th year, the Persian kings will plot an ambush in Memphis. They will kill the Assyrian king. The Persians will take vengeance on the land, and they will command to kill all the heathen and the lawless one. They will command to build the temples of the saints. They will give double gifts to the house of God. They will say, "The name of God is one." The whole land will hail the Persians.
Okay.
Even though the Persians weren't the ones to get rid of the Assyrians, the Persians got rid of the Babylonians.
Mm-hmm.
The Assyrians were long gone by that time.
Yes, and it's like the Egyptians.
So this is
probably not them.
Well, right, exactly. It's probably not them. And even if it is, then there's just something off here.
Oops.
So the reign of the righteous king from the city of the sun. Even the remnant who did not die under the afflictions will say, the Lord sent us a righteous king, so that the land will not become a desert. He will command that no royal matter be presented for 3 years and 6 months. Specifically.
Yeah, that's very specific.
Josephus reports on a 3-year remission of taxes for Judah, which was ordered by Antiochus the Great earlier, also in Josephus' work, in Antiquities of the Jews. Josephus reported that Alexander the Great agreed to remit taxes during the sabbatical year. So they're talking about taxes here, all right. The land will be full of good in an abundant well-being. Those who are alive will go to those who are dead, saying, rise up and be with us in this rest. Well then, that is the end of chapter 2.
Hey, if you're enjoying the stream so far, share with your friends, family, neighbors, and countrymen.
Because they deserve to see it. For some reason. I'm going to hand that off to you.
All right, chapter 3.
Oh, and by the way, make sure to click that notification bell if you want to be here every week, because we do stream twice a week every week. So you want to be here for that, go ahead and click that notification bell so you don't miss it.
Do it.
Please do. I feel like that would really help us.
Chapter 3 is different now. It's also shorter. So let's hop into this. Chapter 3, the advent of the Son of Lawlessness. In the 4th year of that king, the Son of Lawlessness will appear, saying, I am the Christ, although he is not. Don't believe him.
Oh, no.
Guys, I kind of believe him.
Like, it's don't believe him, exclamation point. Right? Why did they translate it this way? Reading Pistue Araf. Okay. Don't believe him. Digression concerning the advent of the true Christ.
That was the whole thing.
That was the whole subsection. Yeah.
Beautiful.
When the Christ comes, he will come in the manner of a covey of doves, with the crown of doves surrounding him. What?
Yeah, gotta be surrounded by doves.
Bunch of doves.
What are you questioning?
A covey.
That's how the actual Christ will come.
The name Jonah means dove.
Okay.
The translation covey of doves is supported by the Chester Beatty Papyrus.
So it to me, it seems that most of the actual commentary in this book, at least, is about the textual evidence for their translation, which is fine to have.
Yeah.
But I don't know, kind of
the term
leaves
for
them wanting.
covey listed its meaning as collecting place. It's also used of small bodies of water. In Middle Egyptian, the hieroglyphic determinative for MH is the picture of 3 ducklings in a pool. The duck pond is conceived of as a brooding place. The expression may then be used for other brooding places and applied to other species of birds.
I really just feel like it's Tim coming with a bunch of doves, because that imagery has been used for like a long time.
Yeah. He will walk upon the heaven's vaults with the sign of the cross leading him. The whole world will behold him like the sun which shines from the eastern horizon to the western. This is how he will come, with all his angels surrounding him. Works of the Antichrist. But the Son of Lawlessness will begin to stand again in the holy places. He will say to the sun, fall, and it will fall. He will say, shine, and it will do it. He will say, darken, and it will do it. He will say to the moon, become bloody, and it will do it. He will go forth with them from the sky. He will walk upon the sea and the rivers as upon dry land. He will cause the lame to walk. He will cause the deaf to hear. He will cause the dumb to speak. He will cause the blind to see. The lepers he will cleanse. The ill he will heal. The demons he will cast out. He will multiply his signs and his wonders in the presence of everyone. He will do the works which the Christ did, except for raising the dead alone. In this you will know that he is the Son of Lawlessness, because he is unable to give life.
You know, that's interesting. So one of the big miracles for canonizing priests was resurrection or preservation of the body. And there were a lot of theologians that believed that resurrection was like the ultimate miracle. So, like, aside from that, basically there are no other miracles. It's the only true one.
Right.
So when it came to like revering someone or even canonizing them, you would have to expect miracles. And the greatest of those would be resurrection. So it's interesting that while it says that the Antichrist can do all those things, like those other miracles, he can't bring people back to life.
But not all texts agree on this. In the apocalyptic texts mustered by Bousset in the Antichrist legend, pages 176 through 181, there is a disagreement over the ability of the Antichrist to raise the dead. Some texts include that among his abilities as a sign of his power, but others explicitly deny it. So, this is a point of disagreement. Who knows?
No one, probably.
Yeah. Now we're in another subsection, signs of the Antichrist. For behold, I will tell you his signs, so that you might know him. He is a ...
Oh no! Another textual break.
Oh no! We're not gonna know his signs.
I really wanted to know the signs.
Now we don't know where he's coming from. It could be anyone.
We can still have some signs here. A ... of a skinny-legged young lad, having a tuft of gray hair at the front of his bald head. His eyebrows will reach to his ears. There is a leprous bare spot on the front of his hands. He will transform himself in the presence of those who see him. He will become a young child. He will become old. He will transform himself in every sign, but the signs of his head will not be able to change. Therein you will know that he is the Son of Lawlessness.
So it's someone whose hairstyle effectively will remain the same no matter how old they get.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to have the specific hairstyle, right?
Yeah, this one swath of gray.
It's
Jeremiah Swisher.
This sounds like the exact opposite of Steve McRae.
Oh, Steve McRae.
Like if you invert all the hair that Steve McRae has on his head, it would be the Antichrist.
It's all gray except for one spot.
Right, but if you like invert it where like instead of being like back here, it's all in front now and not in back, then he would be the Antichrist.
Yeah.
So have we proven now that Steve is the Christ?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. They should go let him know.
So that is the end of chapter 3.
Brilliant. That's how we're gonna know. It's gonna be some skinny little shit with a stupid haircut
who can change shapes.
Yeah. That's how you're gonna know it's the Antichrist.
His eyebrows will reach to his ears.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, if you see someone whose eyebrows reach to their ears, that's already a little sus. All right, you should stay away from that person in general.
Yeah. So I'll hand this back to you. You get to read the martyrdom sections, and I got to use the restroom.
Of course you do. Let's talk about Tabitha. That's the first martyr we're going to talk about. So the virgin, whose name is Tabitha, this is apparently, the woman from Joppa, which we talked about before from Acts. Yeah, Peter raised her from the dead, and basically at this time they were like, that means she's still alive, right? So that's what they're going for here. So anyway, whose name is Tabitha, will hear that the shameless one has revealed himself in the holy places, and she will put on her garment of fine linen, and she will pursue him up to Judah, scolding him up to Jerusalem. Oh my God, so she's just
4.
What?
You're way on 4.
Yeah, 4. Yeah. So yeah, here's this shameless one just being, well, it says revealing himself, but
you know what that means.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if he's just actually saying, look at me and how shameless I am, but not in a naked sense, or if it is in a naked sense. Both cases here are completely possible.
Yep.
In either case,
Perhaps it's left intentionally up to interpretation.
maybe. In either case, this woman's following him to Judea, saying, "Oh, shameless one, oh, son of lawlessness, oh, you who have been hostile to all the saints." Then the shameless one will be angry at the virgin. He will pursue her up to the regions of the sunset. Okay, so this is going to get a little weird here.
Oh, like it hasn't already?
It's going to get weirder. I'm just going to finish this off here. So he will suck her blood in the evening, and he will cast her upon the temple, and she will become a healing for the people. The Coptic word ujai can also be translated a salvation. Become a salvation or a healing for the people. She will rise up at dawn, and she will live and scold him, saying, "Oh, shameless one, you have no power against my soul or my body, because I live in the Lord always. And also, my blood, which you have cast upon the temple, has become a healing for the people." So, you got this shameless one who may or may not be flashing people in the temple, that then this woman, Tabitha, is following. She's very mad at him. And he gets mad in response. He sucks her blood and follows her around, and then spreads her blood throughout the temple, but it has healing powers.
He's literally a vampire.
Yeah, except I don't know if vampires like to cast the blood around a temple.
I don't think so.
I feel like that'd be a waste of good blood.
Probably.
All right.
Though it's like how they would do the sacrifices, the animal sacrifices.
Sacrifices, yeah, absolutely.
So this is the lawless one literally performing human sacrifice.
Yeah, kinda.
Because they would sprinkle the blood around.
Yeah, they didn't suck it.
No.
But they did sprinkle it around.
So it's like a profane version of the sacrificial process.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so now we're getting into the martyrdom of Elijah and Enoch.
Yes.
Finally,
shout out to Enoch.
Finally, we get to talk about Elijah in the Apocalypse of Elijah.
Mm-hmm.
Then when Elijah and Enoch...
Chapter 5 now.
No, this is still chapter 4. Then when Elijah and Enoch hear that the shameless one has revealed himself in the holy place, they will come down and fight with him, saying, "Are you indeed not ashamed when you attach yourself to the saints, because you are always estranged? You have been hostile to those who belong to heaven. You have acted against those belonging to the earth. You have been hostile to the thrones. You have acted against the angels. You are always a stranger. You have fallen from heaven like the morning stars."
Ooh, spooky.
Late interpretation, but all right, there we go. I mean, yeah, classic. The whole, what was that? Was that in Isaiah, right? Was that Isaiah 14 or was that?
Isaiah said, it didn't say about falling like a morning star. It was referencing this king.
Right, it was referencing the
like,
king.
Oh, you think of yourself as so high and mighty like the morning star.
Right. But the thing is that's still sometimes interpreted as Satan falling, even though it's literally not. Like they interpret Lucifer into that. Like it literally is not that. It tells you exactly what it is, and it's not that.
Well, Lucifer literally means morning star.
Sure.
Yeah. Which is why it's Lucifer in some translations.
Yeah. You have fallen from heaven like the morning stars. Yeah, but it's not like a character.
Right.
You were changed, and your tribe became dark for you. But you are not ashamed when you stand firmly against God. You are a devil. The shameless one will appear. The shameless one will hear, and he will be angry, and he will fight with them in the marketplace of a great city.
Whoa, so we have like a battle scene between the Antichrist
and Elijah and Enoch.
Yeah. So you've got to imagine it like those old like Hong Kong kung fu movies.
That's a pretty good way of imagining that. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. And he will spend 7 days fighting with them. And they will spend 3 1/2 days in the marketplace dead, while all the people see them. What a shame. But on the 4th day, they will rise up, and they will scold him, saying, "O shameless one, O son of lawlessness, are you indeed not ashamed of yourself, since you are leading astray the people of God, for whom you did not suffer? Do you not know that we live in the Lord?" So that's what they're going to do. They're going to apparently be dead, and then not after a few days. They will resurrect.
Yes.
I guess, you get a resurrection, and you get a resurrection.
Yep. You get brain damage.
I mean, yeah, if you're out for that long, well, if you're actually dead for that long, yes, if you came back, you would absolutely be brain damaged.
And also, they probably got hit in the head a lot of times while fighting with the Antichrist in the city streets.
That too. As the words were spoken, they prevailed over him, saying, "Furthermore, we will lay down the flesh for the spirit, and we will kill you, since you are unable to speak on that day, because we are always strong in the Lord, but you are always hostile to God. The shameless one will hear, and he will be angry and fight with them, and the whole city will surround them. On that day they will shout up to heaven as they shine, while all the people and all the world see them." This is a hell of a battle.
Yeah. Like everyone surrounds them. They're like, fight, 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 right? And they're just like wailing on each other.
And it's in the sky, and everyone can see them, and they're shining.
This is some Dragon Ball Z type shit.
This is exactly it, yeah.
Wow.
So it just kind of stops there and then goes into the next section.
Well, how the hell are you? Jeez, what a letdown after that.
So here's the persecution of the saints. Oh, actually, hold on. It does actually continue here.
Oh, good.
So the Son of Lawlessness will not prevail over them. He will be angry at the land, and he will seek to sin against the people. He will pursue all the saints. They and the priests of the land will be brought back bound. He will kill them and destroy them. Well, here's the thing. I guess he's just going to lose that fight, but then go off to do other things that he was doing before. Like Enoch and Elijah just leave. I guess. And their eyes will... Oh, my God. So he will kill them and destroy them. That's all the saints that he's talking about.
Yeah.
And the priests. And their eyes will be removed with iron spikes.
That's pretty hardcore.
Yep.
He will... Oh, my God. He will remove their skin from their heads.
Okay.
He will remove their nails one by one. he will command that vinegar and lime be put in their nose.
After all of those things, vinegar and lime being put in their nose is the least of their worries.
That is true.
That's what kills them. They just suffocate and drown somehow.
Why do I want to hear more of these?
Jeez.
Wow. Okay. Now those who are unable to bear up under the tortures of that king will take gold and flee over the fords to the desert places. They will lie down as one who sleeps. The Lord will receive their spirits and their souls to himself. So they're just going to die in the desert.
Yes.
Their flesh will petrify. No wild animals will eat them until the last day of the great judgment. Okay, yeah. So there's not going to be... Their bodies will be preserved, essentially.
Yeah.
They're not going to be destroyed. They can resurrect. And they will rise up and find a place to rest. But they will not be in the kingdom of the Christ as those who have endured, because the Lord said, I will grant to them that they sit on my right hand. They will receive favor over others, and they will triumph over the Son of Lawlessness, and they will witness the dissolution of heaven and earth. They will receive the thrones of glory and the crowns. Yeah, this is a classic.
You won the game. You get the end scene credit with all the fun stuff. Good job.
Classic big resurrection stuff, where they're hoping for it. It's coming soon. So here's the martyrdom of the 60 righteous. So 60 righteous ones who are prepared for this hour will hear. And they will gird on the breastplate of God, and they will run to Jerusalem and fight with the shameless one. So now it's 60 verse 1.
Yeah.
Saying, all powers which the prophets have done from the beginning you have done. But you were unable to raise the dead because you have no power to give life. Therein we have known that you are the son of lawlessness. They figured it out. They cracked the code.
Yeah, and now they're ready to do battle.
With the son of lawlessness, with the guy who was not only doing those tortures, but had all those powers as well.
Yeah, and beat Elijah and Enoch.
Yeah, well, I mean, he didn't prevail over them, but Elijah and Enoch just...
Well, he initially prevailed over them.
That's true the first time, yeah. It's one-on-one for that. So, yeah, good luck. Good luck, guys. He will hear, and he will be angry and command to kindle altars, and the righteous ones will be bound. They will be lifted up and burned. That's how that chapter ends.
Incredible.
They're going to be lifted up and burned. Now we're on to the last chapter of the day and the last chapter of the Apocalypse of Enoch.
You know, chapter 4 really stood out.
Yeah. It did.
That's some anime tier shit. But, yeah.
Maybe that's going to be one of our shorts, the most anime thing we've ever read.
Yeah. So now we're into chapter 5, the final chapter of the Apocalypse of Elijah.
Hold up. They have the power of God and anime on their sides.
Yeah, okay.
Cultural references.
Yes.
Chapter 5, men flee from the Antichrist. And on that day, the heart of many will harden, and they will flee from him, saying, this is not the Christ. The Christ does not kill the righteous. He does not pursue men so that he may seek them, but he persuades them with signs and wonders. The removal of the righteous. On that day, the Christ will pity those who are his own, and he will send from heaven his 64,000 angels, each of whom has 6 wings. The sound will move heaven and earth when they give praise and glorify. Now those upon whose forehead the name of Christ is written, and upon whose hand is the seal, both the small and the great, will be taken up upon their wings and lifted up before his wrath. Then Gabriel and Uriel will become a pillar of light, leading them into into the Holy Land, it will be granted to them to eat from the tree of life. They will
angels or to the
No, these righteous
to the
people.
righteous, okay.
Yeah. They will wear white garments. ...
So they're ascending.
Yeah. And angels will watch over them. They will not thirst, nor will the Son of Lawlessness be able to prevail over them. So this ties them in to that bit in Genesis where there were two trees, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life, whereas they've already inherited the powers of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now they're inheriting the power of the tree of life, which makes them like God.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Yeah. Natural disasters which follow the removal of the righteous. And on that day the earth will be disturbed, and the sun will darken, and peace will be removed from the earth. The birds will fall on the earth dead. The earth will be dry. The waters of the sea will dry up. The sinners will groan upon the earth, saying, "What have you done to us, O Son of Lawlessness?" saying, "I am the Christ," when you are the devil. You are unable to save yourself so that you might save us. You produced signs in our presence until you alienated us from the Christ who created us. Woe to us, because we listened to you. Lo, now we will die in a famine, where indeed is now the trace of the righteous one, and we will worship him. Or where indeed is the one who will teach us, and we will appeal to him. Now indeed we will be wrathfully destroyed because we disobeyed God. We went to the deep places of the sea, and we did not find water. We dug in the rivers and papyrus reeds, and we did not find water.
That's it. Planet's dead.
Yeah, like there is no surviving this situation. They're just fucked. The lament of the Antichrist and the pursuit of the righteous. Then, on that day, the shameless one will weep, saying, "Woe to me, because my time has passed by for me, while I was saying that my time would not pass by for me. My years become months, and my days have passed away as dust passes away. Now, therefore, I will perish together with you. Now, therefore, run forth to the desert, seize the robbers and kill them, bring up the saints, for because of them the earth yields fruit, for because of them the sun shines upon the earth, for because of them the dew will come upon the earth. The sinners will weep, saying, "You made us hostile to God. If you are able, rise up and pursue them." Then he will take his fiery wings and fly out after the saints. He will fight with them again. The angels will hear and come down. They will fight with him a battle of many swords.
Okay, we're getting cool again. Although, okay, so the Antichrist here,
he's like freaking out because he's like, I don't want to die.
Right, he just kind of fucked himself there.
Yeah. The cosmic fire. It will come to pass on that day that the Lord will hear and command the heaven and the earth with great wrath, and they will send forth fire, and the fire will prevail over the earth 72 cubits. So like 72 cubits distance around the entire planet. It will consume the sinners and the devils like stubble. A true judgment will occur. Word of the coming judgment. On that day, the mountains and the earth will utter speech. The byways will speak with one another, saying, "Have you heard today the voice of a man who has not come to the judgment of the Son of God? The sins of each one will stand against him in the place where they were committed, whether those of the day or of the night. Those who belong to the righteous and ...
Oh, great.
Yeah. Will see the sinners and those who persecuted them and those who handed them over to death in their torments. Then the sinners in torment will see the place of the righteous, and thus grace will occur. In those days That which the righteous will ask for many times will be given to them. The judgment and the execution of the Antichrist.
Oh, about time.
Yeah. On that day, the Lord will judge the heaven and the earth. He will judge those who transgressed in heaven and those who did so on earth. He will judge the shepherds of the people. He will ask about the flock of sheep, and they will be given to him without any deadly guile existing in them. After these things, Elijah and Enoch will come down. They will lay down the flesh of the world, and they will receive their spiritual flesh. Oh, so here is where Elijah and Enoch actually die. Like their bodies die at this point. Whereas prior to this, they had ascended.
Yeah.
Now, at the judgment, their bodies are done with.
Yeah, well, because at the end, you won't need those anymore, I guess. Or maybe just certain people would need them.
Yeah, but they just become spiritual flesh.
Okay.
They will pursue the Son of Lawlessness and kill him, since he is not able to speak. On that day, hold on. Let me see about
so you go Super Saiyan and they kill him?
Yeah.
They go to spirit form?
Well, they definitely go Super Saiyan. That is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Pull out the Bible. Check Mark 134.
You got it. Mark 134. And he healed many who were sick with various diseases and cast out many demons, and he would not permit the demons to speak because they knew him.
Okay. I guess that's the reference here. Or
yeah,
something.
Along with all the other stuff about the miracles performed.
Yeah. On that day, he will dissolve in their presence like ice which was dissolved by a fire. He will perish like a serpent which has no breath in it, which we commented on before.
That was the very beginning, yeah.
Yeah. They will say to him, your time is passed by for you. Now, therefore, you and those who believe you will perish. They will be cast into the bottom of the abyss, and it will be closed for them. The millennial age. On that day, the Christ, the King, and all his saints will come forth from heaven. He will burn the earth. He will spend 1,000 years upon it. Because the sinners prevailed over it, he will create a new heaven and a new earth. No deadly devil will exist in them. He will rule with his saints, ascending and descending, while they are always with the angels, and they are with the Christ for 1,000 years.
Yeah, so it's like, this is the stuff you see in Revelation as well. Like the idea of a new heaven and a new earth. It's the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. And so now I guess we kind of have more details on it because we have people's bodies, like regular bodies that will resurrect and be part of the new earth, right?
Yep.
But the sinners, they will be cast into the abyss and locked up for good. And then for heaven, you don't need the flesh anymore, especially if you already ascended. You don't need to do it twice. So
Twice ascended.
Well, I guess it is twice ascended, but it's you have advanced to the next stage, right?
Yeah.
Super Saiyan 2!
And this is to go even further. Ooh.
So yeah, that's that takes up the mantle of Revelation and millenarianism.
What happens after the 1,000 years?
Big party.
Why are you asking me?
I mean, they say this 1,000 years thing.
We'll have to read more about these apocalypses.
Yeah, maybe we'll get some interpretations later.
But that is the end of the Apocalypse of Elijah.
It is. If you guys enjoy the stream, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't. All of that does help the stream a lot, especially viewer engagement. That helps the stream. Helps it pop up in suggested feeds.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we were talking about doing shorts. I think we should definitely.
We were talking about doing shorts.
Yeah, so we might post some of those coming up. Let's see. On Sunday, we are starting Haggai.
Yeah, I think so. And we're finishing it too.
Yeah, it's really, really short.
But
and
next Friday, we need to pick something else. How about the Testament of Job?
Job
was the oldest book in the Bible.
Shut up. It was a wisdom text, right?
Yeah.
So we can only hope that this Testament of Job would be more entertaining.
Well, it's not included in the wisdom literature book.
That's true, yeah.
We can assume that it's more entertaining.
Okay, well, we can go with the Testament of Job.
Yeah, next week we're going to be doing the Testament of Job, but final thoughts on the Apocalypse of Elijah.
Okay, so aside from the issue of the amount of textual breaks that there are, which is a bummer,
the women sucking serpents to get poisonous blood from tits, pretty bad. There's also interestingly weird.
Yeah,
weird.
Would not have expected a lot of those things in there, especially the serpent sucking women with poison blood. Yeah, I was not expecting that one.
Yeah.
And then I also wasn't expecting the torture that was described.
No, that was hardcore, man.
Skinning, nail pulling off.
Yeah.
Nuts. And then
eyes with nails, right?
Stuff as well.
Yeah. Oh, those last 2 chapters take a huge step up.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm going to rate it an 8.5, maybe a 9 out of 10.
Nice.
Entertainment purposes, yeah.
Yeah, for entertainment purposes. The first couple chapters kind of bring it down a little bit. They're not very exciting.
I mean, for that reason, I think I'd put out a 7 because you have, it is also exacerbated by the fact that the textual breaks, it does kind of stop being that entertaining at some points.
Yeah, but it just gets so nuts. That was more nuts than anything in the Testament of Solomon.
Yeah, for the most part.
And there was a lot of crazy stuff in the Testament of Solomon.
Yeah.
I feel like we should make a compilation of some of these things.
Maybe. But yeah, those are my final thoughts on this. If you enjoyed the stream, give us a like, comment, subscribe. Check us out on Patreon. Join in our t-shirt giveaways. If you don't want to enter the giveaway, you can buy a piece of merchandise, such as the one that is about to be pinned at the top of the chat. You can get the Nothing New Under the Sun shirt.
It's a good one, I think.
Yeah, you can also check out our Amazon wish list. Tons of books on there that we can read to you, read about for you. That use it as sources or what have you.
Link is in the description for that. Let's see, Facebook and Twitter, free to follow us on those platforms. I think those are the main things, right? Yeah, I think that's what we got to chill out. I think other than that, we're good. So yeah. And also, if you do become a patron, aside from the t-shirt giveaways, there is also the added benefit of you could be on the show. You could join us for our Patreon hangouts or our patron hangouts, I guess. And you get our video scripts for our long form content, like all the,
yes, just mounds stuff. And mounds of information.
Tomes.
Yeah, heaps.
How many heaps to make a tome? No, I'm kidding. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hope you enjoyed all that. And we will see you on Sunday for Haggai.
And then Friday for
very short book.
Job.
I think I don't know how long that one is, but we'll see you.
It's 2 chapters.